As we've been talking about the number of ways coronavirus is impacting the local economy, the global economy, we haven't talked a lot about the effect on the entertainment industry. And while many people might think that's a luxury to be concerned about that, it does certainly employ millions of people, and there are concerns about the health of the entertainment industry and what major changes are happening because of the coronavirus. So for that, we bring in Fox 5's Kevin McCarthy in Washington, D.C. Thank you for being with us. Let's start with one of the biggest film festivals of all, and that's Cannes.
Yeah, this is a major deal. Obviously, we're talking about the entertainment industry. Specifically, I think the biggest story right now is really the James Bond story in regards to that film being pushed back from an April release date to a November release date, and the idea of what that means for global box office. I mean, really, when it comes down to it, I think this whole idea of shutting down certain theaters in certain markets, that really affects the box office. And you think about something like a James Bond, for example, that movie, like you look at Skyfall. Skyfall was a very popular Bond film that made $1.1 billion at the worldwide box office. Over 800 million of that was international. And you think about these markets like China, Italy, and France, where films that are global films that do really well. And you talk about Cannes, obviously a big film festival happening in May. There are so many things to look at here, and what other films are going to follow suit, what other films are going to move as well. So the big question comes down to, if you release a movie domestically in the United States and you don't give it the China release or the international release, you're talking about losing millions and millions and millions of dollars. Now, I was reading today in the Hollywood Reporter that even the Bond move, even the moving No Time to Die from April to November, is still going to cost MGM, reportedly, according to the Hollywood Reporter article, between $30 and $50 million. Now, that's significantly less, from what I understand, than releasing the film and obviously not having the international markets like China. So, for example, if they were to release the film on April 10th, like they were normally going to, with around 70,000 theaters closed in China, that was definitely going to affect their box office. So it was a smart move to move it to November. But the question then becomes, why move it 7 months? And I think, in my opinion, I have a theory on that. I mean, you don't move it 7 months because you're worried about those 7 months being a time period where no one's going to go to the movies. You move it, in my opinion, because movie studios have relationships with IMAX. So, for example, the new James Bond film was shot with IMAX cameras, so they're actually going to release the film on IMAX screens, and you have to schedule that,
right,
you know, a long time in advance. Other movie studios take those slots,
right. There are far fewer IMAX
year,
screens.
So they probably had to look ahead to November.
No, I'm sorry. I was just saying there are far fewer IMAX screens than there are your traditional movie screens, so you can't just, you know, willy-nilly say, what the heck, I'll have it on that weekend. Let me ask you about the...
Exactly. I mean, you think about IMAX...
Oh, I'm sorry. We're having a hard time at this. Yeah, so let me ask you real quick, Kevin, about the personal movie-going experience. I'm sitting in a huge room with a lot of strangers for 2.5 hours. Are people still going to go to the movies if they're concerned about catching something from someone next to them?
I mean, I don't know the exact answer to that question. I mean, I know I'm still going to go to the movies. I still think that people should be able to travel, you know, for their own personal reasons. I was listening to one of your guests earlier about the idea of not canceling things out of fear. I mean, in my opinion, the movie theater experience is one of the greatest experiences you can have in the entertainment element. And to me, that, you know, movie theaters, yes, they are dirty. There's people, everyone's going in and out of them. There are foods everywhere. So I feel like, yes, I mean, I'm sure that's probably a concern. Will it affect the box office is the big question, right? So last weekend with The Invisible Man opening up, right during the coronavirus outbreak, obviously, that movie still made $29 to $30 million in its opening weekend. So people are still going to the movies. The question will be this weekend. You know, obviously, if things have gotten grown, and in my area specifically, I live in the D.C. area, so we had 3 cases in Montgomery County recently. So I'm wondering if that's going to affect any of the domestic box office this weekend for Pixar's Onward or Ben Affleck's movie The Way Back. But it's going to be an interesting thing, and you also got to look at streaming, right? What's going to happen with streaming? Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus, Amazon Prime, will those numbers skyrocket? Will less people go to the movies, like you mentioned, and stay home and watch those films? Then you look at something like Disney, right? Disney is a very interesting element because you have Mulan coming out on March 26th in the United States, March 27th in China. And as I mentioned, the Hollywood Reporter article mentioned that around 70,000 theaters are closed in China. What do you do if you're Disney? Do you still roll out Mulan as a global release? Some people have been talking about the idea, what if Mulan was put on Disney Plus? So you think about other options, but then you lose to piracy and things like that. But if you put out Mulan in the United States and you don't give it to China, the piracy, that's the other thing. People are just going to pirate the film. So I don't really know what's going to happen with Mulan or other global rollouts like Fast and Furious or films like Trolls World Tour. There's so many different elements to look at here in regards to timing and scheduling. But we know this now, that the movie business is an international business, more so than it's ever been before. They are making films specifically for international audiences because movies do better internationally than they do domestically. I mean, Avengers Endgame made $2.7 billion worldwide at the box office. 1.8 of that was international, including partly China as well. So that's what you have to look at here, is the global effect a movie will have if it's released during a time period where theaters are closed.
So, Kevin, talk to the cynics now, the people who say, when it comes to the coronavirus, we should be focusing on people's health, we should be focusing on people's safety. To think about something like the entertainment industry, right, they might see it as trivial. Talk us out of that concern and explain why we really are focusing on Hollywood.
I mean, listen, at the end of the day, the human element is the most important, right? That is the most important thing, is the human element, our safety and our health. But you also have to look at it from a business standpoint. The entertainment industry is a business industry, we know that, and you're talking about losing potentially billions of dollars. There was an article in the Hollywood Reporter, I believe last week, that said the entertainment industry and the film industry could lose $5 billion over this. Now, those are, speculative numbers, but that is going to affect people's jobs, I mean, the idea of movies, it's not just the box office. I mean, there are so many people making films, marketing films, running movie theaters. So I think, I mean, while it may seem trivial to say, oh, the movies are going to be affected, you got to think about the jobs that are also affected by that aspect as well. And so that becomes a human element. It really does. Even though movies are entertainment, there's still human beings behind it all.
All right, Kevin McCarthy, live for us. No, I get it, man. That's that's people's jobs, people's livelihoods. Could have a dramatic impact. Kevin McCarthy, live there at a Fox 5 in Washington D.C. Thank you so much for joining us. All right, let's.
No, thank you so much for having me.
No, of course, of course. We'll talk to him again, I'm sure.